Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. Tonight, we'll be looking at a topic addressing the skills gap, strategies for HR professionals. Our facilitator today is Juliet Chijindu. She'll pronounce it properly, forgive me. Juliet is a human resource practitioner whose experience spans across 2 decades in the education sector. She has a bachelor's degree of science, business administration, and a master's in industrial and labor relations. She got professional certified by the Tara Institute of Personnel Management in the year 2010. In March 2018, she was meritoriously upgraded to full membership of CIPM. She has served at the National Committee of Learning and Development of CIPM. She currently serves at both the Ikeja chapter and Lagos State branch of CIPM. She is a certified licensed practitioner of human resources. In her quest for continuous learning, Mrs. Chijindu got licensed as a design thinking practitioner by IBM in October 2020 and became a Microsoft certified educator MC in December 2020. She is driven by certain values, which include learning, growth mindset, respect, integrity, passion, and adding value to people within her spheres of influence. She is currently the Organizational Design Development Manager with Cornell Schools Trust Council. Please do me a favor, let me pronounce your name well for the benefit of the audience and for my sake. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking to us on addressing the skills gap, strategies for HR professionals, let's welcome Juliet. You have the floor.
Thank you, sir. The name is Juliet Chijindu. Chijindu means God holds life. That's the meaning of the name. Thank you very much for this privilege. Thank you for the platform to share knowledge this evening. And for everyone that had joined this evening, I say a very good evening to every one of us. And thank you for being part of this learning session. I would, before we dive deep into the topic for the day, I would like to use this opportunity to say that Dr. Adeosun is doing a great job, and some of you on this platform called HR Mentorship may not understand the magnitude of what Dr. Oluyemi is doing. I could also tell you that it wasn't so prominent, it wasn't so popular during our own time. And for you that have it on a platter of gold, I think you should embrace it with full hands and do not take it for granted. And on that note, I want to say a big thank you to Dr. Oluyemi. And then going further into the topic for today. Yes, I'm a new, would I say, a first timer by way of facilitation, but I do know that quite some time I've been part of this learning from the platform as well, especially when I have the time to be part of the learning session. And when I see some very catchy topics, I like to log on and learn as well. And I can tell you that there has been very great content received from this platform. Okay, so having said that, thank you once again. And for everyone, thank you for being part of it. Addressing the skills gap, strategies for HR professionals. And it's a topic that is very dear to me because you notice that people or organizations are going through this challenge. And I can tell you that it's not just one organization. As a matter of fact, it's not only a challenge being faced as a country, but it's a global thing. And why would that be? The reason being that our schools, especially from this side of the world, Africa specifically, is not producing the people that are ready to be deployed or to handle things in the labor market or in the organizations, as the case may be. And so that gap exists. As we go deep into the program or into the discussion, we will be able to see the major causes why we have such gap as we speak, because it was not so prominent some years back. So why did it all of a sudden are we having such in our organizations or in our country, Nigeria, or Africa as a whole, or even in the globe? Because we're also going to be seeing the reports from some groups, global groups, and what they had to say about this. So having said that as a background, let's see the objectives we will be covering today. One, a general overview of skills gap. The second one, understanding the causes of skills gap. The next one, strategies for addressing, because it's not enough to say that those are the challenges, and then we do not talk about the strategies for addressing such gaps. And then what are the best practices and case studies that we can learn from? And please, I would also crave your indulgence that no one can claim to be an encyclopedia of knowledge. So having come to share this knowledge, if you have some inputs, some contributions, please just pen it down, because there will be that time when we will yield the platform to you so you can give your comments, make your contributions, so that we can also learn from your own experiences and then be able to deploy it in our different organizations. So, understanding the skill gap, okay? So, first, we had already talked about the background, and what are we trying to talk about? The skill gap refers to the discrepancy, that gap that is between the skills required by employers and those possessed by candidates. So you are employing someone to man a particular machine that you had just spent millions of dollars or millions of naira to purchase, but you realize that that person does not have that particular skill to handle that machine. It becomes a gap, okay? So we will look at that. The gap can hinder organizational growth and innovation in an increasingly competitive market. You had planned, you have this strategy that at so point, maybe in 3 years' time, this is the level at which you will be operating from. But lo and behold, you are, you are not able to have the skills required to be able to operate at that particular level. So you find out that it hinders the growth of that organization. And as a result, you will not be able to operate at the particular range that you had planned to be operating in your defined industry. So we will also, in the course of this, address the skills gap. Addressing the skill gap is essential for the HR professionals to ensure a competent and adaptable workforce. You and I have the responsibility, because it still remains our responsibility to hire or to fire, as they say, okay? But in this instance, for us to be able to address those gaps that have been observed, and that means the ones you have already hired, if they do not have that level of competency you're expecting, then you will need to intervene you will need to create certain interventions for them to start operating at that level, which means they will have to become adaptable workforce. Now, a quick one. Having shared this background, having tried to explain what the skill gaps are, in your own view, what could be the impacts of skills gap? Please, if you don't mind, I would like us to share. Please put it on the chat box. I'm sure Dr. Oluyemi is still available. He could help us to read it out. And if you want to speak, please just indicate by a show of hand. He will be able to see your hand and he will call you to speak, if you don't mind, please. Quick one. Let's see. What are the impacts of skills gap? You've been noticing it. We are HR practitioners. We are on this call. It's not only my own organization. Even in your own organization, you've been noticing it. What are those impacts? Anybody? Anybody? Dr. Oluyemi, please, is anyone raising hand? Because I'm not able to see them. Hello, can someone confirm to me that I'm audible? Hello? 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 Okay, I'm going to end the show and see. Obviously, Dr. Oluyemi is not available. Please, can someone confirm you can hear me? Bukola, you are muted. You can hear. You can hear. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. I wonder why, okay, now I understand. I understand you are not able to unmute. Okay, thank you very much. Right. So I'll go back to sharing. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Tunde, I can see that you have put on your camera. I guess that is to affirm that you can hear me. Thank you. Let me just check if there is anything in the chat box. Let's check. Oh, all right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I can see that. Okay. Thank you very much. Because I couldn't get any feedback. Okay, so I'll go back to sharing. Thank you for that confirmation. All right. Thank you. All right, so I'm going back to share so that we can continue in our conversation. Just a moment, please. Thank you very much. So I'm sorry for that interruption. So I was going to check to see if there were responses regarding the impacts of skills gap. So but unfortunately I ran into, are you hearing me, not hearing me? But in any case, let's just showcase what we have and go on. So when we get to the question and answer, we can listen to the inputs that people may have, okay? So looking at the impact of skill gap, of course, reduced productivity is one of it. If you had been planning, oh, this is what the level we want to be operating as an organization, but due to skills gap, it can, it can reduce your level of productivity. So I will just go over this so that I don't spend too much time. We've already lost some time as a result of the interference we had. Now, another impact of it could be increased costs. Of course, when you have observed that there are skill gaps in the organization, the different levels of intervention that you would want to exhibit could cost you some money. Some of them we are familiar with by way of training, by way of coaching, by way of mentoring, by way of on-the-job training, different things. And those could cost a huge amount of money, thereby increasing your cost of operation. Another one could be hindered innovation and growth due to the skill gaps you have observed or that are inherent in some organizations. You notice that this is the level that you had planned to get to, but as a result of not having the adequate skills that you want for your operations, you notice that your growth will be hindered and your level of innovation will be low because you do not have the right skills. Again, you find out that it affects recruitment challenges. I can tell you in our own organization, there are times you could sit for interviewing a number of people, say about 7 people, 10 people, and at the end of it, you ask yourself, why have I wasted my time? Because you did not get the right people that you had wanted. You could have seen beautiful CVs, and then at the point of interview, you find out that you would have wasted your whole day interviewing the number of people and going back again to reconvene for recruitment. So those are part of the challenges that one could be facing. Of course, because you are not operating at the level you had targeted or you had set for yourself, you see that it will definitely have impact on your economic level, not just as an organization, even in the industry and then the country at large. So having discussed the impacts of skills gap, let's go on and see the causes. We want to see the causes of skills gap. And in understanding the causes of skill gap, we'll be looking at 3 major reasons, 3 major causes, and then we'll go further from there. One of it is the fact that we need to understand that technology has come to stay. And every day it keeps evolving. It keeps evolving. So rapid technology advancements have outpaced employee trainings and skill development efforts. You observe that in those days, even some people will tell you, oh, they had done computer science or IT related. And you find out that the 4 years they had spent in the universities, they never for one day cited laptops or desktop, and yet they had done computer science in the university. That is the level of our education, especially in Nigeria, let me focus here, our home country, that when such people come out of the university and they are coming into the place of work, you are telling them, okay, this is your laptop, this is what you will be working with, and they are at sea, as if you are telling them something that that is out of this world. I'm just using that as an example, not to talk of now that we are talking about AI, artificial intelligence. Yes, I do know that there is a level that actual intelligence. When I say actual intelligence, it means the point at which you have to do your own reasoning and be able to link it up to what you are doing or what you are saying. What happened? Wow. Okay, let me see if I can go back. Okay, still talking about development effort. So I was just explaining part of the challenges we are facing in this part of the world, where people can finish from the universities after spending 4 years reading courses like computer science, and you get to the labor market, you are presenting them with a laptop and they are like, they've never seen this before, just because they are not conversant with that particular equipment, or they read computer science, for example, and they are not familiar with the tool called computer or even laptop for them to be conversant with it or to train with before they get to the labor market. So that was the bit we were discussing before we had the issue of interruption. Now again, I was just explaining again that technology is now evolving and it's at a very high speed. So you come to talk of the current thing, or what we have now, the reality we have on ground now, AI, artificial intelligence. And some people are saying, oh, they are not, they are, in fact, they fear to even come close or to learn the AI or the tools is already there. They do not want to come close. And all they are saying is that AI wants to take over their job and the rest of them. But for people that would be open to learning, that would want to embrace technology, you see that these are the people that will integrate AI into their work and it will make it better. Okay, so one of the reasons is that technology or technological advancements have actually outpaced employees training, and it takes series of trainings, regular intervention for people to get used to what is on ground as we speak. Okay, so the next course. The next course is the changing industry demands require new skills that many current employees may not possess. Say in the education industry, which I belong to, you find out that teaching and learning have also taken a new dimension. So the technology for teaching and learning, they are coming up, new ones are coming up. So if you are an educator, for example, or you find yourself in that industry, you find out that even the ones you are recruiting that are just coming up from the schools, that they do not have what the educational industry require. I'm just using that as an example. Different industries are having similar issues. So they do not have the required skills to be able to measure up in what is required in different industry. And as a result, training becomes very key or very important. We look at number 3, still trying to understand the causes of the skill gap. When there is a lack of alignment between educational institutions and employers, between educational institutions and employers also contribute to the skill gap, okay? So when what we are doing from our schools are completely different from what is required in the labor market, it becomes another issue for skill gap, okay? So of recent, we have also heard of JAPA, and in some cases, they will even say there is JAPADA, people that go and some of them that will come back. But for the purpose of this lesson, we are focusing on JAPA. In other words, people that are seeking greener pastures. And you find out that they are on a large scale, and a lot of them living in Nigeria, using Nigeria as an example for other countries. So that again causes a huge gap in our pool. So we've talked about this, but listen to what World Economic Forum has to say. And World Economic Forum is not-for-profit organization that usually convenes annual conferences to address global issues. This is what it has to say in this year's meeting or conference. It says skills gaps are the biggest barriers to business transformation around the world. So you agree with me that it's not only here in Nigeria, it's not only in your industry, but it's something that is happening worldwide. But having discussed these gaps, having discussed these causes, let's see the useful steps for tackling the skill gap. So the first one will be in the area of assessing current skills and needs in our different organizations. So it is necessary for us to conduct a thorough skill audit. What do you really have on ground? What are the skills we have on ground? And where are we expecting, where are we looking to get to? So that would help to identify what you have on ground and what you need to be able to bridge the gap. Now, engaging employee in self-assessment can provide valuable insight into their perception of their own skills. So it could just be a point that employees are also part of it, because the insight they could also provide, or the self-assessment, could also be of help. Than when you look at it as an organization, when you look at it holistically, then you will be able to see the gaps and how they need to be bridged. Collaborating with departmental leaders, in other words, departmental managers or the heads, can clarify the skills necessary for future growth and success. Because you as the recruiter, you as a head of HR might not be able to see all the skills in the organization, but when we collaborate, when we partner with other departmental heads, then it will go a long way to identify the skills gap. Now, we've talked about ways we can provide intervention, talking about training. Let's see the bit, what we can actually leverage on. Developing tailored training programs can address specific skill deficiencies among employees. Just because you've done the audit and you are able to see where you have the skill deficiencies and what you need to address. The next one will be continuous learning opportunities can also foster a culture of growth and adaptability. So every opportunity for people to learn or for people to share knowledge, even in the organization, can be a way of bridging those skills deficiencies. Offering a mix of on-the-job training, online courses, and workshops, such as we are doing now, could also be a way of bridging such deficiencies, because we know our strengths, we know our weaknesses, and we are able to identify those and then improve where necessary. Promoting a culture of lifelong learning. Yes, very key. It is something that at every point in time, we need to keep encouraging employees to pursue ongoing education, which would always help to mitigate the skill gap over time. Okay, and the next one will be recognizing and rewarding employees for their efforts in skills development. It's also another way of motivating people, gingering them up for them to develop themselves. It could be a way of putting up a policy in place where you have some ways of motivating people that if you develop yourself in this way, certain percentage of maybe the tuition or maybe subscription, annual subscription of being members of professional bodies could be a way to motivate them, and you see them subscribe to such. It would always help to bridge the gaps. Creating a supportive environment for sharing knowledge. It could be something that could be done every week or as the department or the organization finds fit. These are different ways that one can deploy or leverage to bridge the gaps. Leveraging technology for skills development. Yes, that's another bit. Of course, you don't need to leave the comfort of your home to learn. Different e-learning platforms are now available that you can actually subscribe to. I do know that the HR mentorship on weekly basis has learning opportunities for people to subscribe to. Implementing learning management system can help track employee progress and skill acquisition. So for organizations that can afford it or that can build customized learning management system, LMS, it can also be a way to bridge the gap. So technology has come to stay and can always give dividends if we maximize it or optimize it. Encouraging the use of mobile learning apps can facilitate learning on the go, making it more accessible. Of course, there are some of them we can always have access on our phones, and we are on learning as we go. So that's about leveraging technology for skills development. Collaborating with educational institutions, that is another strategy that some people have actually utilized, or we can also make use of. Partnering with local colleges and universities can ensure that curricula align with industry need. As part of our case studies, we will get there to see some organizations, global organizations that have actually partnered with some universities. And so it becomes like a pipeline into that particular organization. Offering internship and apprenticeship can provide students with real-world experience while filling talent pipelines. Of course, we know what internship is all about. There are some banks that have actually partnered with some schools that at a point of their courses, they can actually send them to such organizations, to these banks, for their internship. And that becomes a pipeline for such people to come into the organization, and they would have already gotten the real world experience before they graduate. Okay, and we talk about engaging in community outreach initiatives, which can enhance the organization's reputation and attract potential talent. Of course, being visible in the community in which we operate. And by the time people in that environment, in that community see that, oh, this organization has done this bit, this organization had done this in this community, it will be a way of building or enhancing that organization's reputation. And then it could also attract talent at different times. So this could be another option for addressing skills gap. So we'll look at utilizing data analytics for skill gap analysis. What do we mean by this? So data analytics can help identify trends in employee performance and areas where skills are lacking. Of course, when you are conducting performance management, which is essentially feedback, you are able to know how that candidate is faring on the job. And by the time you do certain analytics, you'll be able to know the trends where the skills that you have in place and the ones that are lacking, so that you can beef those areas up. Tracking recruitment and retention metrics can inform strategies for addressing skill shortages. Of course, that is another bit, that if we track recruitment, we are able to know, okay, certain people from certain universities that we had recruited in the past, these are some of them that had stayed, and these are the people who didn't stay, okay? Or even from referrals, you'll be able to know who are the people that we had been able to stay in the organization and those that did not stay. So that could actually give you a platform or the basis for you to know who to focus on or which area to focus on in addressing your recruitment challenges when it has to do with skills. Again, looking at predictive analytics can aid in anticipating future skill needs based on industry trend. It could come in form of asking the people that are on ground, the employees that are on ground, where do we want to be operating from? What are the skills that we will require even to operate at that particular level? You will see great ideas that will come from different people, and then you begin to collate them, you begin to analyze them, and then that would also help you to get prepared. Start training the ones that are on ground, because you have actually determined the level you want to be operating from and using what you have on ground to prepare for the future. Okay, so having said that, we look at fostering employee engagement and retention, because this is also another area that could help to address the issue of skills gap. Engaged employees are more likely to pursue skill development opportunities and remain with the organization. Oh, and what do we mean by this? You know, you can actually have employees who may be partially engaged or even completely disengaged, while they are still showing up, marking your attendance and the rest of them. But you know your employees better, the HR professionals on this call. We are expected to get connected with these people, and then we must be clear in our job descriptions, and to also get feedback from the line managers or from the departmental heads from time to time, just to ensure that these employees are adequately engaged. And when you have staff members who are engaged and they are excited and they love what they are doing, those ones would always go out of the way to engage themselves and to always pursue skill development with or even without support from the organization, because they do know that primarily that knowledge that they have gleaned or that they have gotten, that it cannot be taken away from them. Creating career development plans can help employees envision their growth within the company. That's another area that we as HR professionals need to ensure that we have attractive career development for employees, so that when they come into the organization, knowing that the growth, they are responsible for their growth, and they will look at what are the parts here, what do I need to do, what are the development I need to give to myself to be able to assume the next role, as the case may be. And then, of course, regular feedback and coaching can reinforce skill development and enhance employee satisfaction. Of course, feedback, very key. And then coaching also is very key in that regard. Now, measuring success and adapting strategies. Of course, we had talked about the issue of performance, which is all about feedback. Establishing key performance indicators can help evaluate the effectiveness of skill development initiative. So by the time you have defined key performance indicators, it will form the basis for evaluating whether the skills are being acquired or is being made effective in the organization. Receiving employee feedback, we've talked about this feedback, can provide insight into the perceived value of training programs. So we must come to the point of having feedback forms, evaluation form, even after the training, after the intervention, to see how those skills that we have sent people to go for are having impacts in their job role. Okay, adapting strategies based on data and feedback ensures that HR professionals stay responsive to evolving skill need. Okay, so you again see the need of data. We can't do without it. And of course, in our different departments, as HR people, we have a lot of data to mine or to get different information, and then we'll be able to use it to see how well we are responding to skills that are very key for different operations of ours. Now, let's look at best practices by examining some case studies. So one of them is Amazon. Of course, we know Amazon as the global platform for different sales. Okay, so let's see what they have been able to do in this regard. Amazon, a giant player in the cloud services market, has invested heavily in continuous learning program for their employees. And so you see that they have put it on, they have set up certain learning developments for their employees. And that is why you see them thriving in their own operations. They are giant players. We know them. There is nobody that will say he or she does not know Amazon, but you can see the different things they have done for their employees to be able to get to where they have gotten to. Is it in the area of machine learning? Is it in the area of developing their engineers and then the solution architects? So these are different things they have put up to be able to train their own employees. Let's look at another organization that had leveraged on this, AT&T Workplace Transformation. And what did they do? The company implemented a comprehensive training program focused on digital skills and emerging technology. So is another organization that had leveraged on learning activities to be able to get to where they are. So you as as an individual working in an organization can actually think of different ways you can also intervene in this, because we've identified that skill gap is a global issue. It's a global challenge. But having identified it as global challenge, what are your own interventions to be able to address it? IBM is another organization that had partnered with educational institutions to be able to train their own employees. So IBM established partnership with universities to align curricula with industry needs. So that is their own way of ensuring that the curricula are aligned with what they have in the industry. Now, having talked about all of this, let's look at the key benefits. What did these companies gain in return? These companies that had done different interventions. It says by offering upskilling opportunities, they empower workers to adapt to evolving technologies and market demands. This commitment to lifelong learning not only boosts employee morale, but also improves retention rate. Of course, those who are already working there will feel satisfied, they will feel adequately engaged, and they would want to stay even beyond what they had planned or the length of time they had planned to stay. Let's look at AT&T. What did they benefit as a result of their own intervention? As a result of the comprehensive training program designed, AT&T successfully reskilled over 100,000 employees, ensuring they remain competitive in a changing landscape. So this is another benefit that AT&T had gleaned as a result of this. How about IBM? Let's say their own. IBM's collaboration with educational institutions facilitates hands-on training and internship, giving students real-world experience and skills. This proactive approach helps create a talent pipeline that meets the specific demands of employers. Okay, so this is the bit that IBM had deployed. Now, let's share, because of the way this platform is structured, I will just go on to conclude so that we can get to the point of discussion. What lessons we can learn. Now, a recap. We've been able to see the following, that what the world is suffering or the globe is suffering, a mismatch between employer needs and worker skills. And we look at it, what has caused this? Rapid technological change, globalization, and evolving job roles. And what impacts has it created on employment, lower productivity, and economic slowdown? And then we look at the solutions. How do we address this? We say we have to invest in education, we have to invest in training and employer education partnership. And then the importance is that it is crucial for economic growth and a competitive workforce. Okay, call to action. HR professionals are on the front lines of addressing the skills gap by investing in employee development, fostering collaboration with educational institutions, and leveraging technology. We can build a workforce equipped for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of the conversation. Let's have your contributions, your questions, and your remarks. Thank you very much. Dr. Oluyemi, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Brilliant presentation. Thank you. Excellent. Didn't expect anything less. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time for us to contribute. What we'll do is to please raise your hands, and then we make you a co-host or enable you to unmute. Madam, we don't allow people unmute because historically, sometimes some people's hand press their computer or phone unconsciously, or some people are in a church, in the bus. So we would like to have a focused conversation so that people who raise their hands are intentional instead of hearing, sorry, it wasn't intentional. All right. So Gillian, my sister, my boss, you have the floor, ma.
Oh, thank you, Juliet. Good evening. Thank you for your presentation. But
Good evening, ma'am.
I won't call it a trick question. In the event that all these techniques you suggested have been applied to an employee who is exhibiting skill gaps, what would you add? And we find out that, we are not getting the desired output. What would you advise happens with such employees? That's my question. The flip side of all what you have said. Could you speak to that?
All right. Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you, Mrs. Ndwoma. Now back to your question. It is very key that right from inception that we should have, what will I put it? What we call performance improvement plan in place. We shouldn't wait until the person had finished the probation period before we start the discussion on performance. So right from month one, we are already looking at how is this person faring, and you are giving that person feedback. You are providing all the support that you need to support. My dear, if you get to the 6th month, there should be no sentiment in business because you didn't establish this business for charity purpose. So if at the 6th month you had started from month one to provide this support, on-the-job training, mentoring, coaching, training, external training, and you still do not have it, at that time, I think you have satisfied your conscience, and then you will have to let that person to go, because it's not a must that you should continue to have that relationship. That will be my own advice. Thank you.
Madam Gillian, are you satisfied with that response?
Okay, yes, but I was looking at it more from the angle of somebody who, coming from where Juliet has been speaking, somebody who has been on the job, new technology is introduced. This person has been a stellar employee all along. New technology, new work methods come in, and training, coaching, all of them are done, all to no avail. But I guess Juliet has said it. I mean, at the end of the day, the business is not. I even thought she was going to say we should move the person to admin, because that is what happens in most organizations. When they don't know what to do with you, they take you to admin, as if admin is a place for people who, like a place for people to just go and rest. But thank you, Juliet. You have actually answered the question. Because I was looking at it from an older employee who has been good on the job. A new technology has now come in. Thank you. Let me yield the floor to others. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so while we are waiting, if you like to contribute, ask a question, share insights around this topic, please raise your hands. So while we are waiting for hands to be raised, or drop your thoughts, questions, comments in the chat box, we will read them out, and amiable facilitator will respond. And one thing I can just chime in to the particular question you just raised, madam, is this is also where change management comes to play. While I understand that, for example, the speed of evolution of technology is much faster now than in the past, some will say 18 months, some will say 12 months, some will say 2 years, as the case may be,
But one thing is clear, for us as HR professionals, we put our hairs to the ground. So these evolutionary developments don't catch us unawares. They don't catch us by surprise. So as we are getting wind of likely development upgrade in technology, it will be showing up in our training and development. So the kind of trainings we make available. So it's just like if anybody, for example, right now, there's no AI in your organizational training, I'll be surprised right now, or machine learning, robotics, because by the time it will become 100% imminent, it will be too late. And that's what will now happen to that older employee. It will now look like you are pushing them away. But if you have been introducing them, so from a change management perspective, they will be adjusting over time. I know if you have 20, so to speak, old people, maybe not all the 20 will conform. Let me use that word. But 18 or 17 will conform. So, but if we are reactionary as HR, we don't do anything on time, then we may get 15 old people out of the system. And that will not be the fault of the old people. It is we that were not proactive either as HR or as management. So, and that's why change management is always a key concept in HR management and HR leadership. I hope that also adds some value to the response provided so far.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, it does, sir. Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome. Then one of our colleagues on the call, Osamui, also added a contribution. She chimed in. She said, such a person will need to be placed on a regular understudy. All right. Thank you so much. I'm checking. Is there anyone who would like to ask any question or say something generally, or maybe a quick HR question? Any quick HR question? You know, we have Juliet with us today. I cannot guarantee you tomorrow, but at least today. Well, she's available tomorrow, but with invoice. You get your invoice. All right, Ejiro, I can see Ejiro's hands up. Ejiro, please, you have the floor. Your contributions are welcome, or questions, or both.
Hello, thank you for this opportunity giving us to learn from your wealth of knowledge. Just to also further add to what Mrs. Chijindu has said, I think sometimes having a well-detailed job description also plays a key role in also being able to identify the required skill gap, because I see some job descriptions that just list a few things, and then when you come on the job, you're required to do more than what is expected. So that for me can also help to have the right targets to the right recruitment pool that you want. And then also having like focus group sessions with employees where you can gather requirements on maybe current trends, on what is required for the job for them to succeed, can also help in addressing the skill gap. So let's say people that are into sales, what can they use to increase their sales? So like Ms. Chijindu earlier mentioned, using data analytics. So studying your customer base, looking at those data, those are things that you can also draw your that can also
Insight
help
from.
yes, your insights to be able to address what the skill gaps that will be required for people in sales. So that's just basically what I wanted to just share. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your input. Thank you.
Very, very insightful. Thank you for your contribution. I see a question here. Let me be sure it's a question or comment, but let me read out from Bukola. She says here, in an organization where the business owner, again, owner manager, requires more from a particular team and or department, and also recommend change of job title, as an HR manager, how do you handle this? The question is on the chat, so you are not, in case you want to read it yourself.
Yeah, talking about the owner trying to change the job title. Of course, if the job title is going to be having the same job responsibility, so there is need to inform the person that going forward, based on this, the nomenclature of your job role is going to be reading this going forward. However, these are the things that will be expected of you to be doing. So, but if in any way is going to change, just like we have said that things are changing and job roles are changing, it's also very key for us to inform the person. Communication becomes very key. It is when we are not transparent in what we are doing and we are only working based on assumption, that's where it becomes very misleading. But if it is communicated, and in some instances, you may need to send such a person, recommend you being the HR professional here, may need to let the owner of the business know that, oh, because of this change in this role, there will be need for such a person to go for this particular training, whether within the organization or outside the organization. That would be your own recommendation. And in some reasons, you do not wait until that point when it becomes crisis, but you would have written a memo by way of justifying the reason why this person should go for this training and pushing such recommendation forward via a memo. And then you will get the input of the owner of the business, because if he sees what he stands to gain, that's where the justification comes up now. If he sees what he stands to gain, then I'm sure he would want to give it a trial, because nobody will see that if you upgrade me to this level, this is what you stand to gain in first month, in first quarter, by first half of the year, and then the person will now say no, that you cannot do it. It will be a bit would I say not to be seen. I don't know if that addresses your question.
So let me just chime in and say one or two things with respect to Bukola's question. So generally speaking,
okay,
businesses evolve, and by evolution, you may expand a job role, expand the functions of a department, you may change the name. So take HR, for example. You may change it, for example, from human resource department to people and culture. You will see that the art of the function will still be the same thing, maybe a few additions here and there. However, where the change is material, very significant. Let me give you an example. So assume this person or this department was doing 100 things. Then you now want them to now be doing 200 things or 150 things. I will just appeal that in that context, are you also going to widen the scope of the remuneration and compensation? Because they were doing A to Z and you are paying them 100 naira. You now want them to do A to Z times 3. Would that be, except as you are giving them some new tasks and responsibilities, except you are dropping some, okay, so that there is fairness. And don't forget that these people already have, say, an employment letter or an assignment letter, which they had agreed to. So like Juliet said, consultation is key. Engagement is key. So engage with, for example, the head of department, with the team members. Don't make it look like a dictatorship. Let them see the reason, like a conversation, so that you get their buy-in. Because if you significantly, overwhelmingly change the scope of work, someone can see that from a perspective of constructive dismissal. Let me put it that way. In other words, you hired me for A and you are telling me to do B. Even though you may have some rights, but again, is it along the scope of my competencies and capabilities? And then is the remuneration also fair? If the volume and the complexity of the work is higher. So I just wanted to add that to what Juliet has said. You see, I believe that one-man businesses or owner-managed business are still rational. I know this as someone who has tried to run some businesses, different initiatives, that it is super tough doing business in Nigeria. So when you are supporting a business owner as a technocrat, you also need to wear your business hat, show some empathy. So your approach to dealing with the business manager or owner matters. You don't necessarily have to be confrontational. You don't have to come from the perspective that, oh, you don't have a right to do this, or you cannot do this, because they can look at you, where were you 32 years ago when we took the first loan to start this business? So first of all, try and say, okay, what are you trying to achieve? I agree with you, sir or ma, that this objective is key. Let us now, I want to suggest an alternative or a modification to help you still achieve that same way, maybe in a less cantankerous manner. You understand? So there's this approach, conversational approach. You also know some people, maybe immediately they are giving that instruction. That is not the time to resist or to say no or to try to throw spanner in the works. Maybe when they first give you that information or instruction, say yes, ma, noted, ma. You know them, hopefully. Maybe in the afternoon or in the evening, can I say, ma, that thing you said in the morning, can I share a few things? But again, I agree, I want to help you achieve what you want to achieve. Always hold on to that point that your goals are what? The same. Maybe slight moderation in methodology, in approach. It's just what you are trying to help them to achieve. Bukola, I think somewhere between Oluyemi and Juliet, you will find some response to your question, or a combination of the two. All right. All right. So I don't see any more answers. You still want to say something, ma? Any closing remarks before I request our participants to say thank you to you?
I just wanted to mention if Dr. Imafidon is on this call, just for him to just say hello.
I'm checking. If you see him, please unmute him. I'm checking too for his name. If he joined with his name, you know, some people are very coded. They may have
he promised to join.
He may not have used his name or used an organizational name or his business name or something. I'm checking very quickly because it will be great to hear his voice and his counsel tonight. I don't appear to see him.
Okay.
All right. I see one Emmanuel. I don't know if is it Emmanuel Imafidon?
Yes, his first name is Emmanuel, but I don't know.
But I will still enable this Emmanuel to speak, to unmute and speak. You are now co-host. Emmanuel, I don't know if you are Mr. Imafidon. Please, sir. Okay. He may also be multitasking. I made him co-host just in case. All right. So what we do at this intersection
Oh, we can't hear Dr. Yemi anymore.
So we can
Okay.
unmute and thank our speaker for tonight. Let's unmute, please.
Thank you, Madam Juliet.
Okay,
It was
thank
very,
you, Madam
Thank
very
you.
impactful.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you
Madam
so
Julia.
much.
for a down to
Do
earth and
well.
a real
Thank you.
Thank
presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. We
you.
really appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Please
you.
come back.
Thank you.